Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have something truly special. A list that climbs the ladder of horology from one of the finest value propositions in the luxury watch world all the way to the very top of the Swiss watchmaking hierarchy. 5 watches, 5 iconic brands, 5 completely different arguments for why a great watch is one of the most rewarding things a person can own. This is a list that spans dive heritage, expedition credentials, moon racing history, Genevan dress perfection, and the single most influential sports watch ever designed. Every one of these deserves your full attention. Let's get into it. Number 5. Tudor Black Bay 58. The Tudor Black Bay 58 is the watch that quietly reset expectations for what an enthusiast could buy at its price point, and in doing so became one of the most talked about references of the last decade. The name references 1958, the year Tudor introduced its first watch rated to 200 meters, and the BB58 wears that heritage with a confidence and physical authenticity that no amount of modern design language could manufacture from scratch. At 39 millimeters, it occupies a case diameter that is simultaneously vintage in spirit and effortlessly contemporary in wear. Slim enough to disappear under a cuff, bold enough to command attention on a bare wrist. The black or navy gilt dial is a masterpiece of restrained execution, with its snowflake hands, pencil indices, and domed plexiglass crystal delivering a depth and warmth that flat sapphire simply cannot replicate. Tudor's in-house MT5402 movement inside offers a certified chronometer rating and a 70-hour power reserve, movement credentials that rival competitors at significantly higher prices. Number 4. Rolex Explorer 124270. The Rolex Explorer 124270 is the watch that strips the crown back to its most essential and most heroic identity. And what remains when everything unnecessary is removed is one of the most perfectly resolved watch designs in the history of the medium. The Explorer's story begins on the slopes of Everest in 1953, where a Rolex prototype accompanied Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay to the summit of the world. And the current 124270 reference carries that origin not as a marketing footnote, but as a living design philosophy. The 36-meter case, a return to the original Explorer proportion after years at 39 millimeters, wears with an immediacy and elegance on the wrist that immediately silences every argument about modern watches being too large. The black dial with its 3, 6, and 9 Arabic numerals, its broad, luminous Mercedes hands, and its total absence of complication or decoration is a composition of such absolute rightness that altering a single element would diminish the whole. Number 3. Omega Speedmaster 57. The Omega Speedmaster 57 is the Speedmaster for those who know the full story. A refined, historically faithful tribute to the very first Speedmaster reference introduced in 1957 that started one of the greatest chapters in watchmaking and space exploration history, where the professional moonwatch honors NASA and the astronauts who carried it beyond the atmosphere. The Speedmaster 57 reaches back a step further to the original racing chronograph that launched the lineage, and it does so with a level of finishing and contemporary movement technology that elevates it into a category of its own. The 40.5mm case features a 2-part construction that recreates the original's distinctive stepped profile, and the black or silver panda dial presents the chronograph registers with a clarity and visual balance that feels both archival and entirely modern. The Hesalite and sapphire crystal options each make their own argument. Hesalite for historical authenticity, sapphire for everyday practicality, and both are entirely defensible choices. Number 2. Patek Philippe Calatrava. The Patek Philippe Calatrava is not simply a watch. It is the definitive answer to the question of what a dress watch is supposed to be, settled once and authoritatively, and left undisturbed for nearly a century since. Since its introduction in 1932, the Calatrava has represented the Patek Philippe philosophy in its purest and most concentrated form. The conviction that true luxury is the absence of excess, that genuine quality announces itself through silence rather than spectacle, and that a watch worn for a lifetime should reward its owner with greater appreciation each passing year rather than less. The round case in yellow, white, or rose gold, gossamer thin, perfectly proportioned, disappears on the wrist with a lightness that owners consistently describe as the first and most lasting surprise of ownership. The dial, Whether silvered opaline with applied Breguet numerals or dressed in the most restrained possible arrangement of indices and blued hands, achieves a visual tranquility that the most expensive watch photography in the world struggles to adequately represent. Number 1. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. 15500. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. 15500 takes the undisputed top position on today's list, because in the entire history of watchmaking, no single design has changed the conversation about what a luxury watch can be as completely, as permanently, and as brilliantly as Gerald Genta's Royal Oak. When it arrived in 1972, the Royal Oak was an act of deliberate provocation, a stainless steel sports watch priced higher than gold dress watches, built around an octagonal bezel secured by 8 exposed hexagonal screws, wearing its industrial fasteners as jewelry and daring the establishment to object. The establishment objected. Then the world fell in love with it. The 15500 is the current evolution of the 41 Mon Ami Royal Oak, and it represents the most technically and aesthetically refined expression of Genta's vision to date. The Grande Tapisserie dial, a pattern of raised squares hand-applied with a precision that takes Audemars Piguet craftspeople hours per dial to complete, shimmers across blue, gray, green, and black in gradations of light that no other watch surface in the world quite replicates. The integrated bracelet, with its alternating polished and satin-brushed surfaces following the contours of the case with seamless geometric logic, is the single finest piece of bracelet engineering ever produced. A claim that sounds extravagant until you fasten it on your wrist and understand immediately that it is simply accurate.